There's one other very important thing for me to mention, and one of the main reasons why I'm actually making a video for me to watch myself before I make this decision. When you have a bentwood case with a kneebar, as you see here, the kneebar goes in the front and you turn it to run the machine, you push it to the right and it turns in the hole, and the controller runs the motor. Now, on a lot of machines that have external motors, you can just take the motor off, put a spoked hand wheel on and a hand crank, and you have a hand crank machine, and then if you decide you want it electric again, you just put the motor back on again. When you have a machine like a 99 and a bentwood case, here's the motor, and yes, that is dirty, which I hadn't seen. But there's the motor, and I can loosen the bracket, take this screw out, I can take the whole motor off. But because it's a bentwood case controller, the motor is directly wired down into this part of the base of the case. It has a receptacle and a plug. But if I take the motor off and put a spoked hand wheel and hand crank on, the motor is kind of just going to be hanging in the back of the machine here unless I make a final decision and actually cut those wires. And if I make that final decision and cut those wires, the only way to make it an electric again is to have the motor rewired to the case. So that's why this is a little bit more of a dilemma than just, gee, do I convert this machine? If I make the decision to make this into a hand crank machine, I know that if I change my mind, I actually have quite a bit of an expense here to have the motor excuse me, rewired to the case, because the controller is in here. And the other thing that's involved with a kneebar machine is I have to remove this, which holds the machine in place, and there's one screw right there that you can't see in this light that has the top of this. This is really where an accessory area would be. So I have to remove this black lid, and then inside there is the controller. And I then have to dismantle the controller, I think, to get it out of there. I haven't looked at one of these in a while. So when you have a kneebar machine, whether it's a full-size Singer or one of the 99s, if you decide to go for a motor to hand crank, because the motor is wired directly into the case where the controller is, you have a little bit more of a decision to make, other than just the emotional aspect of whether or not you want to change a machine from its original condition. So that's why I probably will, and I hope you don't mind, I will probably watch this video a few times before I make my decision.